Okay, hello. Let me you don't have an add button, Latoya. Are you on your desktop or you on your phone? Because I don't see an add button for you. Trying to come on. Let me see. Hello, welcome everybody. God bless you guys. Come on in. We're getting ready to get started. And are you on your phone or are you on your desktop? Because I don't see an add button for you. If you see one, you can just go ahead and send it. Or okay, let's see. All right, we're getting started. We're about to get it going. Lift your voice. Okay, there it goes. All right. All right, we're about to get it going now.
Yay!
Yay, you
I think it was
made
because I
it.
was on my desktop.
Got it. Okay, great. So great, everybody's here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just going to get it started. We had prayer already, so we're just recapping the prayer that God just covered us live with His anointing, His glory, His grace, His mercy. We just come against criticism, sarcasm, and judgmental spirits right now in the name of Jesus. Every form of offensive spirits, we don't receive you, resist you now. You are not welcome. We welcome the presence of the Lord. Lord, we ask that you have your way on this live and that your spirit just ministers in this atmosphere, Father God. Thank you, Lord, for your will being done tonight. In Jesus' name,
Man, please,
amen.
devil, no rush.
Yes, yes, yes. Right.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the top
God bless
because
you.
I don't think some people got to hear it. So we just kind of want to know again. Can you just tell us about yourself and your ministry and why you started?
The ministry was originally started to advocate for women that have been domestically abused, and also women that have had an abortion or considering having an abortion. That was the original purpose of the ministry, to just to bring that awareness, to bring the support, to bring the um, different applications and things that they can do to avoid an abortion, or if they already had one, just sharing my testimony and sharing application of some things I did to overcome it. So that was the main focal, is to bring that awareness, to build a shelter and all of that. And as I began to step out in it, God began to enlarge my territory. He began to enlarge my capacity, expansion, and God began to add more layers and more responsibilities, which brings us here today. So we're teaching, we're doing so much more than just a basic. We are prophesying, we're now having classes and lessons, and just the sky is the limit. God is really having his way with Embrace Your Purpose Outreach Center. So I'm excited about all the things that he's going to do in and through the ministry.
Okay. And again, like I said on the previous recording, I did watch you grow up, in college, and it's a testimony to kind of see, what you are, what you have become now. And so I do wish you success in all that you do in your in life. So today's topic, everybody, is on domestic violence, which is not an easy topic to discuss, and for most and many do not even discuss it or do not even want to talk about it, what abuse really is. So can you explain what made you leave your abusive relationship?
Um, I'm gonna first say it wasn't easy. What made me leave the abusive relationship is realizing that I was holding on to a fantasy. That's what it came down to. Because as a little girl, you want to get married. You know what I'm saying? You want to have a house. You have these little things you come up with as a child that you want. So I thought that's what I had. And I thought I had a good relationship. I was very, very young. And I thought I was in a good relationship. It did have some troubles and problems, but I thought with prayer that things would change. I thought prayer was going to change him, um, and it actually just changed me. And so what helped me to leave, to explain what made me leave, is awakening. I had an awakening. I realized that it wasn't going to get any better. I realized that what I was holding on to was lies, fantasy of what I wanted versus what it actually was. And once I had a heart to heart, just straight up with myself, and it was hard. The truth really did hurt, because the truth was he wasn't who I thought he was. That was the truth. Second truth was I had a child, and I was going to have to be okay with having a child in a broken family, meaning that we weren't going to get married, we weren't not going to settle down, we were not going to work. So that was another harsh truth for me, because to me, a good woman was a woman that was married to a man and he fathered all of her children. So I had to get past that. Something I really, really wanted. I grew up in having both of my parents. That's what I wanted. And so I had to accept that truth, that that's not what this is, and it's going to be okay. I had to accept that truth, that I could still be a good woman, and still, my son would still be fine without having his dad in the home. And that's another thing. When you're dealing with domestic violence, you're going to have to see life without that man. So that was another truth, that I had to be okay with knowing that I was going to be raising my son by myself. His dad would not be a part of his life because of the abuse, and the manipulation that they use the child as a pawn to get to you and all of that stuff. And he really did not desire much of a relationship with his son, but most so he was focused on controlling me. So it was just a lot of heart to heart chats that I had to have with myself. And that was it. Being real, getting out of the fantasy la la land of what I think I want it to be and what I hope that it will become, and just being like, okay, the reality is this and that. He's gonna kill you while you trying to. So that was the reality, and it hurt it because I had, again, the most important thing to me is I had shattered dreams. One of the shattered dreams was knowing that my son would grow up without his father. That was a shattered dream. That would never in a million years at that time would have thought that I would have that as a reality. Shattered dream, having a child that someone else wouldn't have the father. His dad wouldn't be around. And I wouldn't be married to him, and he would not be the father of all of my children. That's a shattered dream.
Right. And so how were you actually able to escape that?
I want to first about start seeing this statistically that a woman has about a 70% chance of homicide when she takes the necessary steps to leave an abusive relationship. When it's abusive and you decide to leave, you are in danger. So I thought I had a plan. My plan didn't go well. Um, my plan for this first abusive relationship, I um, I went and filed well, before I filed the injunction, what pushed me to go ahead and make a change immediately was the constant verbal abuse. We was doing laundry, and I ran inside my unit, my apartment, and I locked the door because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the abuse. I just had, I was just tired. I was fed up, and I did not respond well. I wasn't being smart. I ran inside my apartment and I locked the door. And when I did that, he got very angry. He started trying to kick the door in. When he was unsuccessful with kicking the door in, I'm on the phone calling 911 to send someone because I know if he get a hold of me, that is not going to be good. So he began to kick in the window of the living room, and he got his foot. It was a hard to kick in, but he got one foot in when officer finally came. He was literally 50% inside the window. So I was so glad they came, and it was like, ma'am, you need to file an injunction and all of this stuff so that we can legally tell him he can't be here. But for tonight, we're telling him to leave. So the next day, I went to the courthouse. And I filed an injunction, and they came and they served him because he was right back again. They said he could be there, and so they served him the injunction. They made him remove all his items, and he had to go. So that was step number one. Yes, you want to get an injunction, but I remained there. I didn't have anyone with me, and so one night, when I got off of work, it was like 8 o'clock at night, and he was hiding in the bushes, and I had no idea. And so when I went to get up my car and lock the car, he came up running behind me, and he was like, "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just here. I just want to stay the night tonight, and then I'll leave first thing in the morning." Well, morning came, he's still there. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, you still here? I'm gonna go get groceries, come back. Hopefully you're gone. I came back from getting groceries, and he was still there. So I'm like, okay, you made a promise. You said you was gonna leave, but you are still here. So I went in the room, I put up the groceries, I went in the room and started folding my clothes, and he was upset because, see, I have never been done with him like this. It's the 7 years of domestic violence, and I have never been done with him to this point where I'm consistently telling him, you need to leave. I filed the injunction, all of this stuff. I'm being consistent in my pursuit of him, wanting him to go. He's never seen me this way, so he's testing me. He's seeing that I'm adamant, and so he gets upset. He grabs the old school Bible, the green Bible, the hardcover one, and he throws it with so much force at my face. And when he threw it with force, um, I went to look to see what was going on because I seen his arm move, and the Bible struck me here in my face, leaving a big old wound. It was open, blood was everywhere coming out of my face, out of my nose, out of my mouth. My whole face was like this. My nose was so swollen that it was turned literally like that. They thought I was going to have surgery to restructure my face. I was deformed. It was a mess. I had a fracture right here. And so my son was there. He was in a front room. And so good thing he didn't see the violent act. He was like 2 years old at the time. I took him to my mom's house, They rushed me to the hospital, and that's when I found out how bad it was, that it was a fracture. And so the officer came up. It was so bad they had to have me in a room. I couldn't even sit in the waiting room at the emergency room. It was so intense. And so, he did violate an injunction. And so he did end up going to jail, and that's how I was able to escape. It was dangerous. And so when they say statistically, it's a 70% chance that women trying to leave this kind of situation can end up dead, I
Right.
believe it. It's real when you decide to leave.
Okay, so along the way, did you have any supportive friends or family that you were in that helped you enable and enabled you to leave?
Believe it or not, it was not my family that helped me, that was there with me when I went to file the injunction. It was actually one of his family members. It was one of his family members that was there with me through the process and trying to help me think logically, because I was very young and I was not making logical decisions. So she was trying to help me through it. So that was the truth, prior to me leaving him. And it's the thing, when you're in a relationship like that, you don't really tell your family much, because again, it happened 7 years and they've been wanting me out of it. First, my family. However, it wasn't easy to leave. You're traumally bonded to the abuser. And so it's not easy, and a lot of people don't understand, like, why didn't you leave long time ago? He was abusing you all these years. Because it's not easy. It's really hard. It's called, they have a name for one of the types of conditioning, and it's called trauma bonding. And what happens is the same part of our brain that controls addiction. So, like people that are heroin addictions, on crack and marijuana, having those different types of addictions, that's the same thing that also controls our feelings of love. So you become addicted to that individual. It's called trauma bonding. And so it's not always bad. It wasn't always bad, but it surely wasn't always good. So you look for a fix. When you're away from that person, you want a fix of them, even though you know they're going to try to hurt you again. You try to be on your best behavior. And so that's what I did. I tried to be good, and try not to, make him upset, in order to get that fix of being around him, and that hope that he would change, and praying that he would change and do better, and also holding on to the fantasy of, this is who I want to be with, and the fantasy of, we have a son now, we stuck together, because that's what they say. You have a child, you might as well just figure it out. But that was very dangerous.
Okay.
Yes, emotionally addicted. Yes, emotionally addicted. It's really hard. It's like, I never been on a hard drug, but they relate it to someone that's on heroin. Once their body begins to want a wean from it, and they start sweating and hyperventilating and all of that, because they have to have a fix. And so when you're in a very abusive relationship, it can be that intense. And it really takes someone that understands that to help you get away from it. Because if they don't understand, they're not going to be able to handle the emotional turmoil and torment, that your mind goes through when you're trying to break away from that type of relationship.
So my question to you is, did you feel unworthy of someone else's love? If so, would you tell me um, basically kind of like about that? Because there's other people that are suffering from abuse that may, not feel, loved or whatever. But did you like just feel like you were unworthy to be loved
You're talking about prior or after?
while you were with him? Like that, like was that like one of the reasons that you stayed because you felt unworthy to love somebody else, or like
Mhm.
what kind of like was it?
Actually, it's yes. Um, they break you down. A lot of times when you get in that relationship, you already broke down, but they go out of their way to break you down, break down your self-esteem, break down your confidence, break down your courage. If you're in school, they try to discourage you from going to school. They try to sabotage you if you're working, calling the job, try to make you lose your job. An independent woman is not what they really want. So if you are independent, they will try to take that from you, take your independence from you, and make you very codependent upon them. And so, yes, they do break you down and make you feel unworthy, and that they're the only ones that will actually love you at this point because now you damaged goods. Who gonna want you now? You're damaged. So
You're
yes.
right. Well, I asked that because
Yeah.
other people that I've, spoken to about this topic in general, like there's sometimes my mom, where she said I was able to say this, but when my mom one time she was in an abusive relationship, she said she just felt sometimes she felt ugly, and so she didn't, I guess, feel like someone else would want her, like how you said. And my mom also dealt with, other stuff growing up besides, just that domestic violence. So for her to feel like this one person, because a lot of people, they don't really kind of, me doing my psychology degree as well, I kind of was talking to some people, and I guess for most, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, they feel like they, because let's say somebody hit them, they feel like, oh, he hit me because he loved me, he cares about what I'm doing, and so they start
Hmm.
shifting their mind to, oh, he's yelling at me because he wants attention. And like I even see some little younger girls who just be like,
Yes.
oh girl,
Yes.
he hit me, oh, he care about me,
Yes.
and I'm looking at them like, girl, you look so ghetto and crazy.
Right, because that's so true because society tells you that if he hits you, that you must got
Right.
that good, that you got that good, that clank clank, and you must have put it on him, and he can't handle it, and so it seemed like a good thing when they going crazy. They want to check your phone, they choking you, they telling you better not be with no other, nigga and all this stuff, and so society, we're ignorant. We don't understand that that's dangerous. To us, that's attractive. If your man is not doing any of those things, then girl, you must not be on it. Your stuff must not be any
Right.
good, or you need to turn it up a notch. You need to go, you know what I'm saying? You put on something, do or something. Because if he ain't acting crazy, then girl, I don't know what's wrong
Right.
with you. So,
So did you ever blame yourself about what happened?
um, I won't say I blame myself, but I did have to take responsibility. I had to take responsibility, because it was 7 years and I kept going back. And, at the same time, I couldn't help it. And so I take responsibility, for my part. Um, I do. I take responsibility for my part. Now, as far as blaming myself, at one point I did, but I had to realize that I'm not responsible for his actions. I never asked to be abused. It's not like I sat there and said, hit me or do any of those things. So, I'm not responsible for his behavior, but I do take responsibility for my behavior. What I mean by that is I have a duty to love me first, and I didn't love me. And I came in the relationship not loving me. It didn't just start there. It was things that happened as a child that led to, that point in my life. So I take responsibility for the fact that I didn't love me. And so I was unable and not competent enough to know what love was because I wasn't mirroring that. And so, I take responsibility for that. And so I took years and time and loving on myself. And I tell you that was a hard process, especially after you've been abused, to be able to love yourself again. You're seeing the damn, the scars and all of that, knowing your truth and all of the turmoil and all of the trauma that you've went through, and you still got to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes with tears in my eyes and say, I still choose me and I still love
Right.
me.
Um, So I know earlier you mentioned a little bit about one of the incidents, but I know you have children. Did they have to ever witness any of this? And if so, did they have to like take any counseling or anything afterwards?
Well, the first domestic violence relationship, no, because my son was like 1.5, 2 years old. He was very little, but because I did not completely take all the necessary steps to make sure I healed and I was self-aware and I was caring for myself, I found myself in another abusive relationship with my second son's father. And so that the abuse came later, but when it came, it was one day they were both home in a room, and the room was next to mine, and it woke them up. It was early, like 4 or 5 in the morning, and although they didn't see it, they can hear it. And so those are the pictures that I have today. I don't have the pictures from the first event years ago, because oh my gosh, I don't know if I could bear those pictures, but I do have pictures from an event. Actually, it wasn't really long ago. It was actually like 4.5 years ago now, that occurred, so that people can, understand what happened. And that was really horrific because it wasn't, we at this time we wasn't even in a relationship, and the reason for the abuse was, I don't know. I can't tell you, sis. It was for no reason. I'm just being honest. It happened for no reason. It's like he wanted a reason. Sometimes they want a reason to hit you, even if you don't give them any. And so they'll make up something. So he made up a story that I just stole his glasses and sold them on Craigslist. Ray-Ban glasses he bought from the mall for like $99 or whatever. Sis, I don't even wear glasses. I just started wearing shades. So it was just something like that, just accusing me of stuff, and it wasn't true, and just wanting to have a reason because he wanted to bring me under his control. And so to get me under his control, he had to find a reason to hit me. Once they do that to you, that's it's crazy. And so that was following a rape that led to the abortion, that led to the physical abuse. So it was the sexual abuse came first from him, then it was the physical abuse. So when the sexual abuse happened, sis, I clocked out. And at this time, I was a member in the church. I was doing deliverance. I was teaching and new members. I was in church. I was doing all of these things, but when this happened to me, the trauma from the sexual abuse, I clocked out. I was here, but I wasn't here. I was just like, I was gone. I was not myself anymore. I was not in my body. I was my mind was gone. I was just living. I had gave up on my life at this time, and I was like, whatever happened to my life, it happens. I stopped caring at that point because I'm like, what's worse than this? What's worse than sexual abuse? And the fact that I had an abortion to resolve it, knowing that he wasn't going to be there to take care of it, knowing that I was going to have another child outside of marriage without marrying this person, knowing that I was in a financial bind, wasn't making enough money to care for 3 kids, and I wasn't again not thinking clearly, logically, because we serve a good God, but I didn't know that. I was looking at my abilities and what I can produce for my kids. I didn't consider what God can do because at that time I believe only God can do it through you. So if this is all you making, this is all he gonna do through you right now. And so based upon my reality at the time, bringing home probably $400 or $500 a month wasn't gonna do it. I was struggling to pay my little bills I had. With my rent at the time was 200 in Belmont Heights. And right, I'm transparent, have nothing to hide, so I'm just being real. My rent was nothing but $200, but if you're grossing, you're only bringing in $500-600 a month. You have other bills, car insurance, 2 children. To me, I didn't see how I can do it. I honestly could not imagine. And then the fact that I was getting sick, and they were calling me, I was going to lose that little job I had, and then where are me and my kids going to go on the street again? I've been homeless before, and so I had an abortion, and I stayed in contact with him because Sexual abuse is just like physical abuse. It's a way to control you. And I was then under his spell. I was under control. I was mentally gone. I didn't care what happened with my life. You know, I was like, it's over with. God don't care about me because he wouldn't allow this to happen to me. So if God don't care, nobody cares. So I don't care. So that was my attitude. And so I just was just living, and I was very angry, very bitter, very just tormented, and I was a firecracker, and I was ready to fight at this point. And just not him. I'm be real, just not him, because he was the type of person, if you hit him back, you was going to be the last person he hit. You was not going to be alive. I have seen him in action. I seen him in action. He had just got out of prison, out of jail, on a possible homicide charge. Okay, they could not prove he did it. I believed him that he didn't do it, and but the way he treated me when he got out, it changed my perception. Like, you probably did, you know. And so I was afraid for my life with him. And so to hit him back, and the pictures I'm going to show will explain, like my room, how it looked, that my room happened to me. And so, really quickly, I just want to show. I don't know if you guys going to be able to see, but this was the condition of my room after the domestic violence with him.
Wow.
My room was tore up. My computer desk was right here. It's just a piece of it laying on the wall right here. And that's how I worked. That's how I made my little $600 a month. You know, I worked from home, and he destroyed my finances. He destroyed my computer desk. He took it and he hit me with it. Okay, after he punched me in the, you'll see that after the abuse, he just tore my room up. So my computer desk was thrown at me. My computer chair was too. I don't know where it is, probably in the hallway on here. My computer desk was left in pieces. And you see everything that was on my computer desk is on the floor because it fell out. My whole room, he just like tornado, it was like a tornado came through my room. And then here is my computer. He threw it at the wall. Thank goodness he didn't throw the computer at me, but it was thrown at the wall and it broke. And so at this point, I didn't have a way to work. My computer desk was destroyed. My computer was smashed, and my room was a wreck.
Wow.
But I had a laptop. I had a laptop. And I want to tell you guys something. This job I worked, I was a independent contractor, which meant that I had to work a certain amount of hours a week. Okay, you had a basic, and you could work as many as you want. There was no sick leave, there was no vacation time, there was no PTO, there was none of that, because you're independent contractor, and so you have to work what you sign up for, or you could trade it with someone else. But I can't trade all my hours, because if I don't work, I won't have no check. So I had to work. So I had a laptop. I put my laptop out. There was a little table in the kitchen. I brought it in my room, and me and my boys helped me clean up my room. And I put my little laptop right there with my face the way it is. I'm gonna show you in a minute. And I worked 2 days after this event. I worked. Some people want to be able to do that. Survival mode. So although I was going through the trauma, I had an abortion, suffered violence, I had kids still, I had me still, I had to work. So, and this is another thing they do. He took everything. He meant to leave me with nothing. He took everything out of my wallet. This is my wallet on my bed. Nothing was left. Everything was taken. Um, just just that's what they want to do. Just strip you from everything, strip you from your identity, strip you from your purpose, strip you from life, strip you from existing. Just completely just strip me. Just what leave me with nothing. So you'd be crying and running back to him after all of that, to have you begging for help. I need, give me my stuff back. The reason for you to call them. So he still was in control, because now you have my stuff. So although I want to cut you off and call the police and do all of this stuff, you have my stuff. And that's another thing. My voice was home, sis. So I didn't call the police. because I know people that have done that and they took their kids. So I didn't call the police. And I didn't want to take the boys to my mama house because they're gonna tell. They big kids now at this time. This is 4 years ago. So I had a 10-year-old and a 5-year old. And so they were old enough to tell grandma what happened. And I was afraid of that. I didn't want anyone to know because at this time I didn't feel like my family was supportive and that they would have my best interest in mind. I thought they would take the information and use it against me versus being there to help me and support me. And I was not at the point for nobody to play with me. I wasn't there. I wasn't, I wasn't there. I would act up. So the thing about your story, don't tell nobody your story if you're not ready for criticism because somebody may just not, see things that may think it's funny and you got to be ready for that. And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for everybody to know my story at that time because I know what type of family I have. And so I didn't want to take my boys. And so I took my boys with me to the hospital. This is right after in the bathroom. One hit, one punch. It wasn't constant. Of course, the computer and stuff, the computer desk was thrown at me. But although it was thrown at me, I covered my face. So all of this was just from one punch.
Wow.
One punch, the whole left side of my face. And so this was after trying to put ice on it to bring it down, just sitting in my car. I was laying in my car and went to get ice. Yep, cover it up. And I went to work like this. Not going into my job, but I worked on the phone like this. Barely can talk. My lip all busted up on the inside, raw from my teeth cutting it open, and I still worked because I had kids. I had to. And so this was a few days later. I'm sitting on my porch with my nosy neighbors trying to look at me, smoking a cigarette because I went back to smoking
Oh
cigarettes.
Lord.
I didn't know what else to do. I had stopped. God had delivered me, and because of this, I went to the store. Actually, it was a cigarette sitting in my car. It was like it was calling my name. It was broken in half. It was broke, and I said, you know what? Maybe that's what I'm saying. I looked up and seen it with my lip all like this, and still found a way to get it in
Oh
my mouth
Jesus.
and put it on the side and pull on it real good.
Oh
And
my
so that's what I was sitting outside doing, smoking my cigarette, sitting on the stairs because I lived upstairs so that my neighbors couldn't see me. Because anytime they hold my door open, they came to look to see my face because they heard the boom, bang, smack. They heard everything. They heard the screams. Nobody called the police, but they wanted to see what you look like. Because that's the community we grow up in. They know he ended up beating her up, but they're going to mind their business. They just want to see what you know what I'm saying? If you take it like a G, they want to see how you look. They want to see this. I didn't want to be stared at, so I sat on my stairs a few steps down so I could have my cigarette.
God.
And this was a week later. It took a while for the swelling to go down. As a matter of fact, the left side of my face is still thicker than this side of my face. It has never completely went down. It has always been, since this occasion, it's still, bigger than this side. So that's the after effect. And here is me going to church with a black eye,
Oh.
going to church with my this eye black, trying to cover it up with makeup. Didn't do too well. Still trying to function, going to church with a black eye. Because maybe God is going to help me understand why this had to happen to me. This is another day I went to church, had my hair done. That's one thing I did do my hair. That kind of helped me feel a little better. So I went to the hair store girl, the beauty supply,
Oh.
Fowler, and got this nice, nice bob, but it did not change my reality. And you could still see the swelling compared to this side. This side, my first son's father did, and this was the second relationship, the second one. So they both had to turn it one side of my face. So Yep, this is me.
So before I ask you,
And here I am today.
you are beautiful. I
Huh?
say you're beautiful, but before I ask you the next question,
Thank
Jamal
you.
actually asked a question, and he said, "With that being said, on loving yourself first more, did your bad relationship cause you to change your views on being in love with someone?"
Um, yes. I actually had got a relationship between both of them, and I was very mean to him because I didn't want nobody close to me. So he tried to hug me or something. I didn't know how to handle it. I still had PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And so he would try to hug me, and sometime I would be having what you call an episode
Mm-hmm.
from the trauma and coming off of the addiction of the relationship. And I would just have moments I just want to be left alone. And I would just sit there like this, and he would want to come and hug me to help me feel better. And I wouldn't know how to take it. So I would just say, please don't touch me. And that's how I was. Like I would push him away. So it really made it hard. So I had to eventually get out of that relationship and take some time to myself. But I didn't have the tools necessary to really heal and to completely love myself. So I got still ended up getting in another abusive relationship because I did not have the tools necessary. So yes, it's hard to love after something like that for real because you don't know if that person is going to snap. Every time he a guy would move his arm, I'm flinching because I'm like, hold on, I'm gonna hit you before you hit me, kind of thing. I'm like, I'm always on,
Yeah.
somebody move a certain way. I'm right because of that. So I'm always like I don't say paranoid, but I was really kind of like, yes. Sorry about that, guys. Yes. Are you still there? Let me know if you guys can hear me. I think I might have lost her. Okay, there you go.
What happened?
Can you hear me? Okay, great. I think I lost her, so I'm gonna have to bring her back on. Yes, it's hard to get through it. It takes time, and you have to give yourself as much time as you need. It could take years. It take research. So while you're, going through the time, educate yourself. And spending time with love and speaking life into myself, speaking life over my life, and dealing with the root cause. That is going to help as well. So I had to deal with the root cause for me even getting involved in those relationships, and that took me back to a little girl, where I was first. I would say I dealt with molestation as I was about 3 years old, a little girl. And so that was the stem of it. And I never told anyone and until I was 18 years old. And so not having a voice, anytime you feel like your voice is suppressed, women that deal with not having a voice, not being able to speak out, are likely going to deal with attract domestic violent relationships as a result, unfortunately. Having a voice is very important, and being in an environment where you believe you can share and tell your truth is very important. Very, very important. And as a little girl, I didn't feel like I can tell because it was a family friend. And so I protected the person instead of myself. So not having a voice, that's where a lot of it goes back to not being heard. Um, you find yourself in relationships that are not healthy, in which you don't tell nobody. You don't share. You don't know how to, you don't know how to speak up for yourself and say what you need. You really don't know what you need. And so it takes time and take years. And that's what I wanted to mention, that it's just not me. It's common. Your neighbor is probably being abused right now. The lady across the street, the person that sits next to you in your job, it's most likely suffering from domestic violence. And I want to say um, how poor relationships choices are so common, even amongst the elite. For example, the person that coined the term fits my life. She's very smart. She's very wise. Ayana Vincent. She helps a lot of people in their relationships. But if you listen to her testimony, she attracted violent men. And you will see that a whole
Mhm.
lot. There are a lot of prominent leaders and people that are trapped violent men or find themselves in violent relationships because I don't think that there's enough awareness. I don't believe that our community is educated. We don't understand, we don't know what to look out for, and we don't know how to value ourselves. We settle, and because that's not embedded into us as young children, we grow up with that deficiency, which leads to us attracting and settling for these type of men, and also lead to men being that type of man. So this is very common. It's everywhere. I see it's in. Oh my God, it's everywhere. I
Okay.
know a lady right now, also a woman of God. She has a huge following. Says she fell for it.
Right.
She got with a guy just like that. So
Well, so
it's
I have a
very.
question. So is
Mhm.
it safe to say that women that, well, not even women, just people in general, that you should have a safety net, like basically as a survivor, like having a safety plan or a safety net, um like a safety housing like that your spouse may not know about, like just I don't matter if you're married or you're not married, like just one place or something in your life that you should have that that other person shouldn't know about.
Um, I said safe house is the best choice. Um, and I want to say this too. This is another statistic. 75% of women who die from domestic violence did so while they was trying to leave the abuser. So your escape plan is the most important thing, period. It's so important. I wouldn't go to a friend house because I don't want to put them in danger. I wouldn't go to a relative's house because I wouldn't want to put them in danger. Because when that person is, they stalk, like I said, my first, he was outside when I came home from work. They will stalk you. They will follow you. I've even had the last guy that I was sharing the pictures with. He had people following me. He could tell me what I did that day he was at work. He had people following me and watching me. I said, so with that being said, I wouldn't want to go to a friend's house or to a relative's house to escape. I would go to a safe house because I'm afraid that if I do that, I'm putting them in the line of danger. So
Well,
it's very important to go to a safe house. Very important. Because they'll
um,
kill everybody. It's on TV all the time. They will kill everybody.
right. And see, that's what I was saying, because like a lot of people laugh at me all the time because I'm one of the type of people who have like safety methods. Like a lot of my, like if I talk to a guy like my ex, I was with him for like 8 years, there was no like no abuse there. Oh my God, my eyes. But I still had places where he didn't know, like some of my aunties, he didn't know or know where they stay at. Because I need that time, like, not even like people laugh at this movie enough, but that is one of the main reasons why you need a safety plan. Because like how she wasn't even able to go to get like like she wasn't even able to go get a room by herself without he knowing that it may be in her friend's name or whatever. Um, a bank account. Like I feel like I don't care if you get money and you take $100 out, put it up somewhere or something. I think
Yes.
that's very important. And that's the type
Hmm.
of person I am. Like one of my accounts somebody may not know about. Um,
Yes.
big on like me, like one of my best friends. Now she stays out, but I we have this secret number. If I text her this one digit, I should not be texting her this particular digit. If I text her this digit, she knows she better call 911. Because I'm the type of person, I'm secretive. Like if I go to somebody's house, I don't want nobody knowing I'm going over there. Like my grandma used to always tell me, I need to know where you're going because if something was to happen, my God, something's in my eye. But she was like, if something was to happen, I need to be able to tell the police, where you left off at, and so they can know where to go. Okay, I feel that too, but that's why, you know, um, there's times where I might text my mom. But in my head, I'm thinking like, what if I text my mom and then somebody got a gun to her head? Well, my mom is loyal though, cause my mom might take the bullet, so I don't know. But um, I might tell my mom, hey, mom, this is the address I'm going to, this is tag number, this is what I got on, something like that. Because I travel a lot out of state and with work, and my mom, she doesn't really, she gets scared. So sometimes you have to text her. But a lot of times the people in domestic violence, sometimes they don't get out because they done told their boyfriend or girlfriend what houses or who lives where, and they don't have that safety plan or that net so that they can, whatever, be able to leave. And so I just feel like
Well,
to
that's the. I want to say this: when you're in a domestic violence relationship, they cut off your friends. So you, although you had those safety nets, you wouldn't most likely even be in connection with them because they're going to shut it down, one way, shape, or another. I've experienced where he went out of his way to destroy me and one of my friends' relationship by trying to talk to her behind my back so he can come back and tell me, aha, I told you she wasn't your friend, and so they would do that. They would be scandalous. They would try to ruin it. They would try to make it seem like your friend want them, your family want them. Their goal is to isolate you.
or you're
And
jealous, uh,
right.
your relationship, yeah.
They're just right. They'll stir up just discord. So a whole lot of discord, just make you look at them different. Don't. I don't want her over here when I'm here. Don't bring. So that's what I dealt with. Don't. He didn't want any of them around him. It's nothing about them, but it's really what's him. But see,
Mm.
that's what they do to keep you in control. So they're going to try to shut all of that down, all of that.
Well, my last question to you would be, do you think that like um your particular abusers had mental issues, or were you aware of?
Mm, they probably did. Emotional issues, not knowing how to communicate without being violent, and a lot of us have that. Um, I think a lot of us have that. And it could be trauma from childhood, I know one thing with me, this is just me. Was it last year? I think it was last year. The Lord told me don't spank my kids. I really barely spanked them, but He told me to stop because it traumatizes them and it can cause them to have social issues when they get older. And I was like, wow. So I have to catch myself sometimes. I may pop them, but I really want to be obedient to what God said because He said it can cause them to have social issues, not being able to relate, shut down, closed out, all of that. So it could be a matter of things. The thing is this: how are they going to know how to be effective communicators if no one is effectively teaching them how to communicate? And if when we get upset with them, they do something wrong, we beat them, then they think that's what you do. So I talk to my kids. I explain things to them. I know how it did me growing up. My mom beat me for almost everything, and some things I didn't even do. And instead of her teaching me, because some of them spankings, I just needed you to tell me don't do that, because I didn't know I couldn't supposed to do that. That was a teachable moment, but those end up being spanking moments. And so I was used to abuse because of that. I got beat for everything. So to get in a relationship like that was really not much different than being beat at home growing up. And so I hear a lot of people say, oh, it helped me, it kept me out of jail. There's other ways to keep you out of jail too, like educating you. Education can keep you out of jail.
Right.
Teaching you life and consequences can keep you out of jail, but you don't have to be beat to be kept out of jail. You don't have to be beat to grow up with good ethics and morals. So those are the things that God is been really showing me, and so I've definitely changed the way I actually don't raise my kids the way I was raised. I don't deal with them the same way, but I do deal with them differently for that reason, because I know my experience, the trauma I went through, and how because I was already being beat at home, I was numb. I didn't really know the difference. So I go out of my way to talk to my boys and educate them and to teach them things so they can be aware. There's a difference in being alert and conscious versus being not doing something because I don't want to get beat. So
Well, I thank you today for being a guest on my show, and that I hope that this video actually bring awareness to some people, and their feels and their methods. I hope that some start looking at their relationship like, hey, oh my God, that was abuse. Because like you said, abuse starts in the beginning of the stages of your life. It starts when you're a child, like the talking to, like at first, back in the days, yeah, sometimes that method worked a little bit, but then when you think about it, when I became a case manager, my whole thought process of that kind of stuff changed. Because I had a couple of different domestic violence, people that was, in my thing, and a lot of them told their abusers where they were, and some of them children had to get counseling afterwards. Well, I recommended it because you don't want your child to grow up, and I'm not saying that you did anything wrong per se, but I'm saying some parents still, they model that behavior of what they seen growing up, and like just like I was mentioning about, because somebody was like, well, oh my God, I hate rapists and da 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 da. And they don't realize that some people like turn their abuse differently. They may grow up be abusive, they may grow up and say, well, I don't want to abuse my kids, or they may grow up and say, have these mental issues where they can't social be in a social capacity, and they want to be oh my God, I'm so sorry. Just something in my eye. I think this stuff. But so they may abuse someone else. They may in turn uh just distance themselves from society and become dark in a dark place. They miss out on things. Even though the Bible does say this, don't spoil spare the rod and spoil the child. It's different ways, and people take that and they read into that a little bit differently. You know, I
right, you have to know what the word rod means first of all.
right,
Rod, the rod, Moses used the rod to lead the people. He didn't use it to beat them. He used it as a tool to lead them. He used it as a tool to help them, and he used the rod to hit the rock to get them water. So it was used as a tool of leading. So not necessarily for you to beat.
right,
So we have to come out of that mentality,
right.
because it's hurting our people, it's hurting our children, it hurt us, and find other effective ways of chastising them and dealing with them. There's other ways of punishing them that is very effective, that would not destroy them socially, mentally, emotionally, victimize our children.
Yeah, and my mom, she did different methods with us. I could say one, like she, of course we did get spankings and stuff too, but I would say my biggest thing my mom did, which helped me and my sister in the long run is, and we love to do it, so she had to find a different punishment for us. But she used to make us read out the dictionary, and we had to write the dictionary and I still have that little dictionary from A to Z. We would go on trips, and she was like, "You got to write 20 words out the dictionary," and I'm like, "Okay." And I write, and me and my sister, we loved it, and we would write out the dictionary. So then, she would set us in the corner, but like now, as you get, like, you wasn't taught, like, you didn't have a method. You wasn't, parents wasn't equipped with a study guide, so they don't realize
No, no.
that what they don't understand what abuse is. They feel like, if I'm popping you, that's because you're doing something wrong. And then like my mom used to tell me, my granddaddy, and they would pop her, but they would like do it like weeks after the punishment done, and they didn't know what to look out for. They was like hurt. They were like hurt. Wish he'll come in there. 4, it could be 4 months later, 3 months later, and then we're getting whipping. No, you should stop them where they're at and tell them to correct that behavior. Like if I'm in the store and I see them, like I used to in the store, if I see a child acting crazy in the store, I would pop them. And I don't have my own children, but I was given the permission, for my aunties and stuff, I could pop their kids. But then it's like when you think about it, what I learned, doing psychology and criminal justice, if you are looking and watching that behavior and you're feeding into it, it's basically reinforcement. So I let them act up and cry in the store and I'm walking away. You could be bad over there. And I'm gonna be keep going and stopping through the store, and you won't get what you want. You want a toy? No, you don't get a toy. You want candy? You don't get a candy. And another thing that's somewhat, what I used to do with kids, I used to be like, laughing, and I'll be like, okay, you can have this lollipop, you give me a kiss. I had to retrain my thought process on that, because what if a stranger in the street be like, oh, here's some candy, follow me, and that starts some kind of abuse too, because they're training their minds to be thought that way. So I just really hope that when people like watch this video, that they see that abuse is all forms. It doesn't mean that um like it starts crazy. Like, let me see your phone. Let me get the password to your phone. Why you got to lock on your phone? First of all, I lock my phone because I write books, and my book is in my phone. I have pictures. I have different stuff. I have my Facebook open. Different stuff. So I lock my phone for that reason, which I don't have to explain to anybody. The purpose of me talking to you right now, I'm telling you this. But an abuser, when they start that kind of stuff, or who you texting, looking over your shoulder type stuff, you need to stop them in their tracks right there. Like, hey, listen, don't don't worry about what's on my phone. And you don't gotta be smart about it, but like a smart about it is a way to say stuff. But they gotta realize.
Boundaries.
I just really hope like awareness, starts to pick up.
Yeah, having those boundaries, but looking at those things as a red flag, because that can lead to a whole nother thing. And it seems cute at the beginning, but it could really become violent. I know it's a relationship with two young people. That was the same thing going on for about 3, 4 years ago. And she just called me last year to tell me that he choked her unconscious. She was unconscious. Yeah. And I was like, that's dangerous. If he would have choked you maybe 10 seconds longer, you could have died,
Hmm.
but it started out with him, why you answer the phone when I call? Why it take you 10 minutes to call me back? That's how it started. Let me see what's in your phone. Don't lock it started like that. And to us, oh, okay, he doing that because I got the good. He's doing that because he really loved me. We thought that was love signs, because no one really sat down and teach us that's not love. And so we don't know any better. It's ignorance. And so one thing I do recommend is that we are have a community that we can trust. Like you were saying, you have girls, your home girl, you can text her a code and she knows or whatever. But not only having a community we can trust, but when we're dating, to bring and invite one of those people you can trust their opinion. Say what you think about him. Invite him on one of your dates, so she can give you an opinion too, and that she may see a trigger or a red flag that you missed, and also to be brave enough to walk away when we see the red flag. Because I have delete, block, and delete the phone
Hmm.
number.
Control Alt
I see
Delete.
somebody, right? All of that, block and delete, and so be brave enough to walk away, because you know where this can potentially lead to, and you may not survive. It's a lot of women that don't survive. It's a huge pool of women that do not survive. And I'm just, yeah. So we do need to bring an awareness to that fact. And I'm glad I'm still here. I'm glad that I did survive when I went through my domestic violence. Um, and the Lord being with me, when it happened. Like I said, the angel told me, don't do anything, don't respond, because he's waiting for you to do something so he could really do what he wanted to do. And a lot of times they're murderous mind. They have the spirit of murder on them. So you have to be careful with abusive men. You have to, because they want to destroy you. Um, they that's not them, but the spirit in them want to use them, possess their bodies to destroy you, especially if you are women of destiny, women of purpose, um, all of that.
Okay, thank you. And I'll be texting you later.
Huh?
I said thank you, and I'll be definitely texting you later.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the interview. It was a pleasure. I want to thank everyone that came on tonight. If you guys have any questions, you can ask them. That'll be fine. Other than that, I'm gonna say God bless you all. And I do want to point out, just in case you want to share it with a young female, any of your children, male and female, um, the youth, our community needs to be aware of these things. Just a few signs. A man that's charming, like pulling out all the stops. It's good to have a charming man, but a lot of times they're exaggerating who they are because they're trying to win you and woo you. So red flag, really check out a guy that's overdoing it. If he becomes possessive, meaning like you mine, you belong to me, you my wife, you my woman, especially within like the first month, sis, you better red flag, the deuces, the block, and the delete. And so, you my wife, you mine, those are signs that he's very abusive. Controlling, he wants to make all the decisions. Another sign is when he want to move in with you in the first month. Another sign is when he wants to marry you after 1 to 2, 3, 4 weeks of knowing you. Those are all not to say a man won't know that when he met his wife, when he sees his wife, but if you see, if he's already trying to marry you, talking about marriage in the first few weeks or months, and he also exhibits one of these other signs, red flag, invite your home, your friend girl, your homeboy, whoever community, who your community is with you on the date so that they can also be your extra eyes and ears. Protect yourself, your interests. There's too many good men out there for us to settle for abusive men. So God has somebody for you. And that's what I had to realize. I no longer have the burden of trying to find my significant other. I used to think that was my job, but now I understand that's God's job. Well, he has a divine mate for me. So as I'm focused on his business, he gonna tend to my business. And relationships is one. And so when God say I got someone for you, I already know that he's not going to be any of these things we discussed tonight. I already know I won't have to settle. I already understand. I'm not saying he's going to be perfect, but I know that he's not going to be any of these things because the thoughts God has for us are good. They are not evil, and they're to bring us to our expected end. The guy that he, and that's another thing, we shouldn't even be trying to date until we know who we are. We understand our identity and our purpose because we want to make sure our significant other is going to complement that. So if God called you into full-time ministry, you don't want to be dating someone that is not ministry, that doesn't believe in God. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So we want to know who we are first. That should be our first priority. Then once you understand your reason for being in this world, then you can think about, God, talking to God about that significant others because you already know what type of person you're going to need. Someone that's going to have the same interests, especially if it's ministry, so that you guys can do it together, walk together. How can two walk together unless they agree? And I was raised in a household where my mom went to one church and my dad went to another. There was not a lot of agreement. So that is very important. I'm learning that now. And so my goal is to educate others and just bring that awareness, especially going to school, high school, middle school, into letting these young people know relationships is fun, but it's more so fun to know who you are, your identity, your destiny first. So that way your significant other is a match not only to your interests, he looks good and nice and all this stuff, but also your destiny, matching your destiny, matching the pattern of your purpose. So that is very important. So if you're still trying to figure it out who you are, you probably shouldn't be trying to get married right now unless God has shown you for sure that that is the person he has for you.
Amen.
Your destiny is first. Your destiny shouldn't come second to a marriage. And I've seen that happen where it's an awesome woman of God right now that she's on the top of my mind. Awesome woman of God, but won't walk in her ministry because of her marriage, because he's not into God like that. And so ministry first, purpose and destiny first. So, amen to that.
Amen.
So, you guys, thank you for coming on with us tonight while we talked about domestic violence. I pray that it blessed you all. And if it did, I pray that you share it because you never know who's in your community, even on your Facebook community, that could be dealing with this right now and suffering in silence, and you don't even know. And this can be something that will help change the trajectory of the course of their life and get them back realigned with their destiny. It could save a life, it could save a soul. And also, if you see the violence, if you hear it, don't hesitate to call. 75% of women that are in domestic violence relationships a lot of times don't make it out safely because we are in a community where we don't believe in telling it. We don't believe in calling the police or getting involved. And the children are left in orphanages because the mom is dead and the daddy is in prison. You know, that could have been my reality. My kids could have woke up and came and found me dead. And so they wouldn't have had him. And so, or me. So if you see it, don't be afraid to say something. Don't be afraid to step in. Don't be afraid to call the police. Even if she get back with him, you probably saved her life that night. And that may have been what he needed to know, that there's consequences for his actions that will cause him to back up and not take it to that level. So we can save lives. So if you see it, don't turn a blind eye. Our community is so big and being numb to it. And that person, we see the videos all the time, but it shouldn't take me having to show you this, you know, in order for you to understand that it could have killed me. I have, there's some damage to my face, but it shouldn't take me, not, I'm not blaming anyone for not calling the police or anything. I'm not saying any of that, but sometimes we need to share these pictures so that people can see this what really takes effect and how bad some of these things can be. And this is not even bad compared to some other women. This lady, I seen her interview, she had acid through her face, her whole face just gone. She was blind. If you see it, say something. This can be your sister, it could be your daughter, it could be your friend, it could be your pastor, it could be anybody. And so definitely love upon your community and be that voice that you will want somebody to be for your loved ones. So God bless you all tonight, and I'll see you Sunday.
Yep.
Those that follow my ministry. Love you.
Love you too.